What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Video Homicide, and today we're going to be covering the 2008 film Tokyo Gore Police. Now, this film was written, directed, and edited by Yoshihiro Nishimura, who's known as the Japanese Tom Savini. He's done a bunch of films, a bunch of effects on different films, so even going back, I believe, to like the mid-80s, so it'd be interesting to check out his progress as both a special effects artist and as a filmmaker. But this movie, Tokyo Gore Police, is something else. Like, I remember I'd watched it years ago, and I kind of forgot about a bunch of shit that happens in it. I definitely forgot the beginning of this film. We'll get into that in a minute, but the film stars the girl from Takashi Miike's Audition, and that's a film I want to talk about eventually on the channel soon, so stay tuned for that. But she plays this police officer in this sort of privatized police force where, you know, it's one of those kind of near future films where you almost get like Starship Trooper vibes from it, because there's all these like displaced ads throughout the film for all kinds of weird shit. Like, for instance, they kind of condone the act of cutting, and if you don't know what that is, that's basically when you like cut yourself as a form of like, I don't know, self-therapy or whatever the fuck the reason is. But there's like all these like kind of cutesy, like cartoony style commercials thrown throughout the film. Like, there's one where there's like these three schoolgirls, and they're all like, they have like these razors, and they're all kind of shaped cute and fucking, you know, like there's one that's like kind of, I don't know if it was like a strawberry or what the fuck it was, but there's just a bunch of these little like fun, kid-friendly, cutesy utensils to cut yourself with, and they're like loving it, and they're like, nah, 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 you know, and it's fucking out there, man. And there's another commercial later on, there's like this family that's playing with a Wii, like, you know, remember the Nintendo Wii? Only it's like an executioner game. So instead of like, you know, playing bowling or boxing or whatever it is, it's like an execution game. I just thought that was totally bizarre, but that's kind of the world that we live in. And not only is this privatized police force, you know, very brutal in their efforts, but they're also dressed as sort of like a samurai. They have like a samurai sort of helmet with the horns, almost kind of like my logo in a way. And I really fell in love with that. But what they're going after in this film are these engineers, and they are basically mutants. You know, this is kind of like a cyberpunky type deal, but there's this guy going around, and he's implanting people at random with these keys. It's almost like a tumor, looks like a key, and what he does is he like cuts the person, then puts the key inside of their wound and unlocks like for instance their arm. Like, they put the key in there, unlock it, and then the arm like spreads open, and then they put the key in there, and then it closes up, and now they're an engineer. So whenever they're injured or something like that, like they're like, if their finger gets cut off, all of a sudden their finger could have like a goddamn, you know, spinning CD with like razor sharp edges coming out of it. And there's all sorts of different things like that happening in this movie. So our chick from Audition is like this badass, you know, almost like a Scorpion, you know, from Female Prisoner Scorpion type of deal, where she's like the ultimate badass. And her past isn't very pretty, because she had like her father killed in front of her. Her mother was one of these cutters, and it's very bad. And she was taken care of by the chief of police, and that's why she's like, you know, this high-ranking officer. But she's not there just because of, you know, he loves her, he wants to take care of her. It's really because she's that tough. And in the beginning of the movie, I think it sums it up. Like, if you watch this film just for the first 10 minutes, I don't think you'd be disappointed, because it takes place on this rooftop, and there's all these cops, and they're storming the rooftop, and there's this crazy son of a bitch up there with a chainsaw, and he just went to town on this woman. I think it was a woman. And you know, he starts taking out these cops, and, you know, beating the shit out of these cops, more or less, and the cops just shoot him to shit, and they even shoot one of his arms off. And then, because he had this chainsaw, I don't know if it's like whatever you were last holding will become your weapon or whatever, but all of a sudden he's got like a Videodrome style chainsaw coming off of his arm with, like, you know, flesh and like veins on it and stuff, like Videodrome. And he starts killing the shit out of these officers, like in all sorts of various messed up and twisted ways. So our girl Ruka, who's down in the police car, gets a call from like this you know, this person that's like a dispatch, and she gets out of the car because they need her, because there's an engineer up there, and she has a bazooka, and I'm like, fuck, she's gonna go up there with a bazooka, but no, she aims the bazooka at the ground and then shoots it, and then uses that as like a to project herself up on top of this roof, and then she has like a samurai sword, and total badass stuff happens up there. I don't want to like get too far into it, but that's just in the first 10 minutes of the movie. And through there we meet the chief of police. We meet like his little weird fucking S&M like spider thing that he has. Like, it's hard to really, I know it sounds weird, but like this chief of police has this little dude, I guess, that has no forearms and no calves, and has like a S&M mask, and just kind of like follows him around. And we meet this really twisted sort of morgue guy, like what would you call that, mortician, and he's kind of got like total, like everyone in this movie that's not the main character just looks weird as shit to me, or it has like a weird trait to them. But the rest of the film is all about Ruka chasing these engineers around, and chasing like the guy that sort of, started the engineer syndrome, whatever you want to call it. At one point, she actually gets in close contact with this engineer guy, cuts his head off, and then the top of his head like has like his like this brain thing comes out, and he's got like two almost like gun barrels coming out of his eyes, and he can like shoot these things out of his eyes, and he actually infects Ruka with this engineer thing. And that leads into what happens later on in the film, and it's batshit, man. This is a batshit crazy movie, and I loved it. I want to show my dad this movie because I know he's never seen it, and I know he would just think it's insane. And like I said, the amount of practical effects is amazing. Like, this is the kind of movie where you almost need an umbrella to watch, because there's so much blood spurting, so much blood spraying. There's a really iconic scene in this movie where this guy goes into this really greasy kind of brothel, and he gets this prostitute, and he goes into the back room, and she starts giving him a blowjob, and all of a sudden she bites his dick off, and like blood squirting everywhere, but he like somehow has this fucking Mac 10 in his pants, and he pulls it out, and he just starts blowing people to shit, or he blows the chick away, and then she comes back to life with like this alligator. Like, imagine if her legs were alligator, like the mandible, and then the top piece of the jaw. So like, like her vagina is essentially an alligator mouth. Crazy stuff, man. I would highly recommend this movie to anyone that's a fan of practical effects, a fan of like sort of the, if you like that movie Tetsu or anything like that, very cyberpunky, greasy, visceral type of film with like your Yakuza, not so much Yakuza, but like your Japanese insanity, that you get in a lot of these kinds of movies. So I'm having a blast watching this messed up stuff. I felt vibes of Starship Troopers from there, Videodrome, even like I said at the beginning of the film, where there's this guy with the chainsaw. At one point it's like on a chain, so it's almost like a Scorpion get over here thing, but instead of like the little kind of arrow thing from Scorpion, it's a chainsaw that's totally Videodrome. I don't know, man. Highly recommended. Definitely check this flick out. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody for watching, and stay tuned for more videos coming up shortly. I'm kind of on this, Japanese kick right now, watching a lot of films from that country, because I feel like they just make such good stuff, entertaining movies. And yeah, adios.